Hello everyone, welcome to Titan Academy. In this video, we will demonstrate a business use case of creating a lead using the Titan forms. Alright, so this is our create lead form, and we also have a thank you page, a thank you form, and let me publish this and we'll play around with this and then I'll show you the steps of building this form. So first thing we'll do is fill in the first name. And notice once I fill the first name and I move to the last name is not mandatory anymore. And we'll do last name and I'll put in an email. And we will select the source, say it will be web. You'll notice that our section there is hidden. If I'll select something else, we can see that it's shown. Let's put in a company name. And we can select file upload. And select an industry. We can see that we have full list of the industry directly from Salesforce. And I'll hit submit. And once this is submitted, we're redirected to the thank you page. And if we'll head over to Salesforce and let's do all leads, we can see that the lead that we sent from Titan has been created in Salesforce with all the mapping. So let's see the steps of creating this. And first thing we will do is take a look at our get. The only get we have here is a load picklist get. And if we'll click edit and we'll take a look at the mapping, we can see that we're mapping the industry field and the source field. So these two drop downs are mapped directly from Salesforce. So that has been clicked on sync to Salesforce and it's syncing directly from the lead source. Same goes for the industry, syncing directly from Salesforce. So whenever we load the form, if I'll publish this again and I will refresh, you can see the loading runs real quick. This is our pick list load. Let's take a look at the push and then we'll take a look at the logic on the form itself. So we have a push here. We can see we have a lead create. There are no conditions. Let's add a comment, create the lead, and it's use in custom button action, which means we have to invoke it. In a second, we'll see where it's happening from. Let's take a look at the map fields. You can see that we're mapping the last name, the first name, the company, email, lead source, and industry. And we have also a child push, so this will run whenever the first push ran to create a file. So let's take a look at this guy. We're just going to add a comment. Great. And our action is a simple create. And let's take a look at the mapping here. And we will see that we map the version data to the file upload that we have on that section. And the first published location is the first push that we ran for the lead, and we mapped it to the lead ID. So this is how we get the attachment, the file in this instance, onto the lead, and we can see that the file came. All right, so let's take a look at the logic here. So if I'll click on the first name, the easiest way to find out what's affecting it or if it has any conditions, so you can say affected by, it will show you whatever happens with this element. In our instance, we can see that we have something that's making it mandatory, and we can see friendly condition, and we can see that if the last name is empty, then it's mandatory. Let's take a look at the full condition, And we have a support opposite, and if I'll click the configure and I'll take a look at the map, we can see that we're turning the first name into mandatory if the last name, so we have the condition for last name, is empty, and we're supporting the opposite. So if it's not empty, the first name will not be mandatory. And we can also see that it's used in the push, which we've seen we used it in the mapping. So Titan tells us it's used in the push in the mapping. Same goes for last name. So let's take a look at what it's affected by. That's affected by a condition on the first name. And you can see the friendly condition. So if first name is empty, then we're making it mandatory. So let's take a look at the condition again. You can see the mapped last name is mandatory if the current field, which is the first name, is empty. And again, we're supporting the opposite. So this is how we see the behavior of mandatory and non-mandatory automatically. Let's move on to the email field. And we can see we've ticked the send email to fielder. What this means is whatever email that will be entered here, the email will receive an email once the form is submitted. And you can customize this email using the custom mail to fielder and the custom subject to fielder, and you feel free to click the question marks to see what these do. All right, let's move on to our source. So we've seen this in the beginning of the video. This is mapped directly from Salesforce. It's just bringing in all the pick list values of the lead source. Let's just make sure we don't have any logic on it. So we have a condition, and let's see what this condition does. This condition says, if this current value equals to web, if my dropdown equals to web, let's see what happens. We can see that the file upload section is hidden. We're hiding it. And again, we're supporting the opposite. So whenever it doesn't equal web, then it will be shown. This is actually a very good practice to do because we're seeing that we have two elements here. And the good thing about hiding and showing the section, so whenever you have logic to hide and show a bunch of elements together, it's always a good idea to group them into a section and hide and show the entire section accordingly. So this is what we're doing here. Whenever the source is web, we're hiding the entire section. Let's take a look at the affected by again, and we can see again it's the same condition that we just previewed. We can see it from here also, and we're seeing what's affecting it. So we can see that we're hiding it, and the owner is the source field, and we can see the friendly condition, source equals to web, then we're hiding it. Otherwise, since it's supporting the opposite, it will be shown. Let's take a look at the file upload. So the affected by is we have a condition here that we're disabling it if the industry, let's take a look. So if the industry equals to case banking, then we're disabling the file upload. So let's see this in action. Let's see it again. So if it equals banking, and let's find banking here, then we can see we cannot upload a file any longer. If it matches anything else, then we're allowed to upload a file. Let's move on to our next industry field. Let's see if anything affected. If anything affects this element. You can see it's only in the push and in the get. So we're loading it here in the get, and we're using it as a mapping in the push. Perfect. Last thing we'll look at in this form is the submit. In our instance, notice that the button type, even though the button text is a submit, the button type is a Salesforce action. Let's take a look at the Salesforce action that we're running. So we're running create lead. And what we've done here is process mails after push, and feel free to see a full video about what this does. In a nutshell, it will run all the emails that needs to go out once your form has been once this get has run. So whenever the user will click the submit button, we will run the custom action lead create, and we will also send the emails. So the email feeler will get the email once this button is clicked. Next thing we've done here is redirect after finish, and you can either redirect to a URL from a text box or from a hidden. In our instance, we just did that statically, and you can also pass parameters. You have some advanced options here as well. We just kept it simple in our instance, so we're just mapping it to a static URL. And if we will take a look at this URL, it's just a simple thank you page. Another thing to notice, usually if you would have, this is a very simple form, just one push. If you would have multiple pushes on the form itself, you might want to consider multiple custom actions. You might want to consider returning this after the lead has been created, to return it to a hidden, and then you will get the idea of the created record and move on. We will see it in different business scenarios in this part of the course. You can see you have a ton more options here: run in background, ignore validations, custom execution order. Feel free to click these guys and see what everything does. All right, so we'll hit apply and we'll save this. Let's publish it again and see how this runs. All right, so we'll fill in the first name, first and last, and let's do invalid email, and we will do web. That will hide everything, and I'll hit submit. You can see that we're getting an email invalid address, and the reason for this is since the email field has a value role automatically to make sure that the email is valid. So let's put a valid email. And we will submit it. No, let's do it with an attachment. So phone inquiry, and we'll upload a file. And let's do this guy, and we'll select this guy as well. So I'll hit submit, and we're at the thank you page. And let me take you to the integration logs so that we will see everything that happened. So we can see that we have a lead created and a file created, just like we wanted. And if we'll take a look at the lead, we will see that we have all of our fields mapped, and we also have our image shown. So I'll head over to my email, since I am the filler. I'll get an email like so, and we did not customize this email, so we can see that we have all the submission data directly from Titan. And this is how it's done.